The rhythm of the mop against the polished floor was almost meditative. 3 years I'd worked as a janitor at Montgomery Industries, one of the biggest tech companies in the city. 3 years of cleaning floors, emptying trash cans, and staying invisible. And I was good with that. Really. But tonight was different. Tonight was the company's 25th anniversary celebration, and for the first time, all employees were required to attend. Even the cleaning staff. "You have to go, Nathan," my supervisor had insisted. Direct orders from the CEO herself. The CEO, my sister Sarah. The same sister who hadn't spoken to me in 5 years. Not since she married Richard Blackwood, the son of a wealthy business family. The same sister who pretended we weren't related every time we passed in the hallways. I straightened my cheap rental suit, checking my reflection in the bathroom mirror. At 32, I looked older than I should. Life hadn't been kind since our parents died, leaving us nothing but debt. Sarah had Richard's family to help her through college. I had a mop and determination. The grand ballroom was transformed for the evening. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, their light catching on champagne glasses and expensive jewelry. I stood in the corner, nursing a glass of water, trying to blend into the wallpaper. "Nathan, I didn't expect to see you here." I turned to find Mark from accounting, one of the few people who treated me like a human being. He'd even offered to help me study for my business classes at the community college I attended at night. Mandatory attendance, I shrugged, managing a small smile. "Well, I'm glad you came. Did you finish that financial analysis project we discussed?" Before I could answer, a familiar laugh cut through the crowd. Sarah was making her entrance, stunning in a designer red dress, her dark hair swept up elegantly. Richard was at her side, along with several board members. "Oh look," she announced, her voice carrying clearly across the room. "Even the janitors cleaned up for tonight." Laughter rippled through her entourage. I felt my face burn but kept my expression neutral. This was nothing new. "Sarah," Richard chuckled, "don't be cruel. I'm sure. What was your name again?" He looked at me with practiced disdain. "Nathan," I said quietly. "Nathan Crawford." Sarah's smile flickered for just a moment. "Crawford? Oh, what a coincidence. That's my maiden name too." She turned to the board members. "No relation, of course. Can you imagine? A CEO's brother working as a janitor? How embarrassing would that be?" More laughter. Mark shifted uncomfortably beside me. "Actually," I started, but Sarah cut me off. "I mean, really, some people just lack ambition, don't they? Content to stay at the bottom, cleaning up after their betters." Something snapped inside me. 5 years of silence. 5 years of pretending. 5 years of watching her climb higher while pushing me lower. "You're right, Sarah," I said, my voice steady. "It would be embarrassing to have a janitor for a brother. Almost as embarrassing as having a sister who denies her own family to protect her image." The room fell silent. Sarah's perfect smile froze. "Security," Richard started to call, but I was already pulling off my name badge. "Don't bother, I quit." I turned to leave, dignity intact, when a deep voice stopped everyone in their tracks. Now, why would my best undercover analyst want to quit? Alexander Montgomery, the elderly owner of Montgomery Industries, stood in the doorway, leaning on his cane. His eyes twinkled with amusement. "You undercover analyst?" Sarah stammered, her face draining of color. "Oh yes," Montgomery smiled, walking toward us. "Nathan has been my eyes and ears in this company for the past 3 years. His reports on employee treatment, corporate culture, and potential inefficiencies have been invaluable, especially his observations about nepotism in upper management." The ballroom erupted in whispers. Sarah swayed slightly, gripping Richard's arm. But he's a janitor," she protested weakly. "A janitor who's been attending business school at night," Montgomery continued, "who graduated top of his class last month. A janitor who uncovered the accounting irregularities in the Pacific Division that saved us millions. Tell me, Sarah, did you ever wonder who left those anonymous tips that made you look so good in front of the board?" I stood frozen as Montgomery placed a hand on my shoulder. "That would be your brother," he said, emphasizing the word. "The same brother you've been pretending doesn't exist." Sarah's perfectly applied makeup couldn't hide her shock. The board members who had been laughing earlier now looked between us with new interest. "Mr. Montgomery," I started, but he held up a hand. "Nathan, I think it's time we moved you to your real office, the one next to mine. After all, my new chief operations officer needs to be close by." The champagne glass in Sarah's hand shattered on the floor. The next morning, Montgomery Industries was buzzing with whispers. The janitor-turned-COO story spread like wildfire through every department. But I wasn't there to hear it. I was sitting in my new office, a spacious corner room with floor-to-ceiling windows, trying to process how much my life had changed in just 12 hours. "Your new suits will arrive this afternoon," Mr. Montgomery said, walking in without knocking. "Can't have my COO wearing rentals now, can we?" "Mr. Montgomery," I started, standing up. "I need to ask, why me? Why the whole undercover operation?" He settled into one of the leather chairs facing my desk, his wise eyes twinkling. "When I started this company, I was a janitor's son. Nobody took me seriously. But I learned something valuable. The people who clean your offices know more about your company than any consultant ever will." He leaned forward, his expression serious. 3 years ago, when Sarah became CEO, I noticed changes, not good ones. Morale dropped. Good people left. Then I saw you, her brother, applying for a janitorial position. I was curious. "So you tested me?" "Every day for 3 years, and you exceeded every expectation." He pulled out a tablet, showing me charts and reports. "Your analysis of our operational inefficiencies was brilliant. Your suggestions for improving employee welfare were compassionate and cost-effective. But most importantly, you showed integrity. Even when Sarah treated you badly, you never used your discoveries to hurt her or the company." A knock at the door interrupted us. Sarah stood there, looking significantly less polished than usual. Her designer suit was slightly wrinkled, her eyes red-rimmed. "Nathan, I mean Mr. Crawford," she said stiffly. "The board requests your presence in the conference room." Mr. Montgomery's eyes narrowed. "I wasn't informed of a board meeting." "It's an emergency session," Sarah replied, not meeting his gaze. I followed them to the conference room, where the entire board sat waiting. Richard was there too, looking smug. Warning bells went off in my head. "Mr. Crawford," one of the board members began, "while your undercover work was impressive, we have concerns about your qualifications for such a senior position. Specifically," Richard interjected smoothly, "your lack of executive experience. Sarah has documentation showing several incidents during your tenure here." Sarah slid a folder across the table. Inside were maintenance reports, all doctored to show negligence, complaints that I'd never seen before, and even a few photos of messes that I knew weren't from my shifts. Furthermore, Sarah added, finding her confidence, "There are questions about unauthorized access to company files during your time as a janitor." I stayed silent, watching Mr. Montgomery from the corner of my eye. He was smiling. That couldn't be good. For them. "Interesting timing, Sarah," he said quietly. "Tell me, when did you prepare this documentation?" We've been collecting it for some time," she stammered. "Really?" "Because according to the metadata on these digital files, they were all created between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. this morning." Mr. Montgomery pulled out his own folder. "Now let me share some actual documentation." He distributed copies of emails, surveillance footage, screenshots, and financial records. Evidence of systematic discrimination against lower-level employees, unauthorized bonuses, manipulated performance reviews, and he paused for effect, proof that Sarah has been selling company secrets to our competitors. The room erupted in chaos. Sarah jumped to her feet, her face pale. "That's a lie. Richard, tell them." But Richard was already edging toward the door, his smug expression replaced by panic. "Oh, Richard knows it's true," I finally spoke up. "After all, he's been helping her. Those late-night meetings in the parking garage with representatives from Tech Corp. I cleaned those windows, multiple times. The briefcase handoffs. I emptied those trash cans." "You were spying on me," Sarah shrieked. "No, Sarah. I was doing my job. Both jobs. The one you mocked and the one you never knew about." Mr. Montgomery stood, his authority filling the room. "The FBI has already been provided with all evidence of corporate espionage. They're probably arresting Richard's contact at Tech Corp as we speak." On cue, 2 men in suits entered the room, badges out. "Mrs. Blackwood, Mr. Blackwood, you need to come with us." As they led my sister and her husband away, Sarah turned to me, tears streaming down her face. "Nathan, please, we're family. Now you remember?" I asked quietly. 5 years too late, Sarah." After they left, the board members sat in stunned silence. Mr. Montgomery cleared his throat. "Now then, shall we discuss the company's new direction under our COO's leadership? I believe Nathan has some interesting proposals about employee advancement programs." I opened my laptop, pulled up the presentation I've been working on for 3 years, and began to outline my vision for a company where everyone, from janitor to CEO, had a path to grow, learn, and succeed. But as I spoke, I couldn't shake the image of Sarah's face as she was led away. She'd chosen power over family, and in the end she'd lost both. The day wasn't over yet, though. And the biggest surprise was still to come. 6 months passed in a whirlwind of changes. Sarah and Richard's trial made headlines, CEO siblings, from rags to riches to redemption. The corporate espionage charges were serious, but what really captivated the media was the family drama. Everyone loved the story of the janitor brother who rose to become COO while exposing his corrupt sister. I threw myself into transforming Montgomery Industries. The Employee Advancement Program was my pride and joy, offering education assistance, mentorship, and clear promotion paths for everyone from maintenance staff to middle management. Mark from accounting became my right hand, heading up our new financial transparency initiative. But at night, alone in my new penthouse apartment, I'd look at old family photos. Mom and Dad smiling at Sarah's college graduation. Sarah holding my hand on my first day of school. Where had it all gone wrong? Then came the call I'd been dreading. Mr. Crawford, my assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. Your sister's attorney is here. Sarah sat in my office, a shadow of her former self. Prison hadn't been kind to her. The designer clothes were replaced by simple business attire, the perfect manicure gone, the confident posture deflated. Nathan, she whispered, I know I don't deserve to be here. Why are you here, Sarah? I kept my voice neutral, professional. I'm being released next week. Early release for cooperation. She twisted her hands in her lap. Richard, he was the one selling the bigger secrets. I just wanted to prove myself to his family. They always made me feel like the poor girl who got lucky. So you decided to make everyone else feel small instead. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I lost myself, Nathan. Somewhere between marrying Richard and becoming CEO. I forgot who I was, who we were. She pulled out an old crease photo. Us as kids, me about 7 or 12, building a snowman in front of our tiny rental house. Remember what you said when I told you I wanted to be rich and famous one day? I did remember. I said we'd do it together. You were always the smart one, Nathan. The kind one. I was just better at faking it. She wiped her eyes. Richard's family has disowned me. The divorce papers came through last week. I've lost everything. Not everything, Mr. Montgomery's voice came from the doorway. We hadn't heard him enter. Sir. Sarah started to stand, but he waved her back down. Miss Crawford, I believe you're using your maiden name again. He waited for her nod. Your brother has shown me something remarkable these past 6 months. Not just his business acumen, but his capacity for creating second chances. He walked to my desk, placing a proposal document between us. Nathan's new Employee Advancement Program includes a unique initiative. Rehabilitation opportunities for white-collar offenders. Entry-level positions, strict oversight, but a real chance to rebuild. My heart stopped. I hadn't told Sarah about this part of the program yet. Of course, Montgomery continued, candidates must start at the bottom. Prove themselves. Earn trust. Sarah's hands trembled as she reached for the document. You mean? There's an opening in the mailroom, I said quietly. 6-month probationary period. Mandatory ethics training. Regular check-ins with a mentor. Who would be my mentor? Sarah asked, hope creeping into her voice for the first time. Me, I replied. If you want it. She broke down then, really broke down. Not the elegant tears of the old Sarah, but deep, racking sobs of someone who'd hit bottom and found an unexpected hand reaching down to help. Mr. Montgomery slipped out, leaving us alone. I moved around the desk and for the first time in 5 years, hugged my sister. I don't deserve this chance, she whispered into my shoulder. Maybe not, I agreed. But that's what family does. We lift each other up, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. 1 year later, the company newsletter sat on my desk, featuring an article about our successful rehabilitation program. Sarah's picture was there, smiling genuinely as she mentored another program participant. She'd worked her way up to program coordinator in record time, her experience serving as both warning and inspiration. Mr. Montgomery announced his retirement last week, naming me as his successor. The board approved unanimously. The janitor's son picking a former janitor as CEO. The media loved that angle. But what really mattered was the small frame on my desk, holding 2 photos side by side. The old one of Sarah and me building a snowman, and a new one from the company picnic, us building a sandcastle with some employees' kids, both laughing like we used to. Ready for the board meeting, Sarah poked her head in, clutching a stack of quarterly reports. Just thinking about how far we've come, I smiled. Together, she added softly, like you always said. As we walked to the conference room, employees greeted us both warmly. No whispers, no mockery, no pretense. Just two siblings who'd lost their way and found it again, proving that success means nothing without family to share it with. Mr. Montgomery watched us from his office, satisfaction evident in his wise old eyes. His company legacy wasn't just about profits or innovation. It was about second chances, redemption, and the power of keeping your humanity even at the top. You know what, little brother? Sarah said as we reached the conference room. I finally feel rich, really rich, and it has nothing to do with money. I squeezed her shoulder. Me too, sis. Me too.